Good morning. We are now recording, so let's start our program.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, other members of the Chamber. I am Michele Crose. I am one of the Assistant Directors for Library and Recreation with the City of Pleasanton. And I am happy to be here today with Gina Chavez, who is working with the city on this great project. Gina is landscape, I'm going to get it wrong. Gina, say it for me, your title.
I'm a landscape architect, but I'm the manager of landscape architecture in our San Leandro office, and I work at RRM Design Group. We're a multidisciplinary design, engineering, architecture firm.
Thank you, Gina. I knew it was more than landscape architect. And we might be joined by Matt Gruber. He is the city's landscape architect. Together, the three of us are working on, and various other members from both teams are working on a design for an all abilities playground here in Pleasanton. This process has gone through a couple of steps already, and we are now at the design phase where we are actively seeking feedback from the community. We presented recently to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and they suggested that we reach out to the Chamber and seek out your feedback on our early phase of design, as well as any thoughts you may have just in general about the concept, the park, features, anything like that. So we're going to hopefully be able to share our screen, give you a quick presentation, and then ultimately we're just looking for any thoughts and feedback you may have from us today.
Can I ask the host to enable our screen sharing?
Yes, I just did. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you. All right. Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll put it into presentation mode, and then we can get started. There we go.
Okay, so the All Abilities Playground was approved to be at Ken Mercer Sports Park. So today, not tonight, you can tell we've been doing this a few times. Sorry about that. Today, you can go to the next screen, Gina. Today, we're going to give you a little bit of the project background, project overview, some design process work, and then the inclusive design ideas, some potential themes that could happen for the park, and then some questions and answer period. So I'll get into the project background, and then I'm going to hand it over to Gina to do the rest of the presentation. So in late 2017, residents with special needs approached the city council, really, and city staff, and identified the need for an all abilities playground. They were sharing that it was frustrating for them that they would take their families to a park in Pleasanton and only some of their family members could participate in the activities on that playground. And then other times they would have to travel far and wide to find a playground that all of their family could engage in. And they really wanted Pleasanton to look into building an all abilities playground. So after talking with staff and city council in 2019, the city council adopted the all abilities playground as a priority. And then in January of 2020, the Parks and Recreation Commission voted to recommend that the city council explore the all abilities playground at Ken Mercer. Prior to that, staff had looked at every park in our portfolio, and even in parks that were undeveloped yet, and to see which spot might be best for Ken Mercer for an all abilities playground, and Ken Mercer Sports Park rose to the top. And then in September of that year, City Council voted to approve the design process for an all abilities playground at that park. So here is an overview, and Gina, this map is great. This shows, because if you may or may not know, we actually have two projects that are happening almost simultaneously inside Ken Mercer Sports Park at this time. You can see over to the right is the yellow area with the star, where we are looking at adding the all abilities playground. Now that area is about 2.5 acres, a little more than that. The playground we're looking at is encompassing is about 1 acre. That entire overview is the entire area. You can see the current playground that's in there is a fraction of the space. And that playground is actually up for renovation. We have a 15 to 20 year playground renovation plan, and that is well beyond that time period. So it's time for that playground to go. This space is great. It has many, many features already that are perfect for an all abilities playground. And so we're looking to have about an acre of that space be for the all abilities playground. And as you can see from the last map, we're also working on a skate park, which there is already a skate park there. But as you may or may not know, our master plan calls for an additional skate park due to the size of population here in Pleasanton. So this space was designated as an additional skate park and or some reforming of the current skate park that's already there and expanding that. And so that project is happening just a heartbeat behind this one. We actually have a community outreach meeting on this project on May 26th. So right now we are talking, and it's hard because I'm working on both projects. And so shifting gears between the two is very difficult. But right now we are talking about the All Abilities Playground, and we want you to see what we have thoughts on and then give us feedback. There's a lot that goes into an All Abilities Playground here. So I can't remember what the next slide is, Gina. Are we shifting over to you now? Oh, sorry. Here are some close-up shots of what is already in the area. We have a very active picnic site. The school district is actually having their graduation, their grad party, their grad night at this park in this location on May 29th. So heads up, if you live in the area, there will be lots of teens coming into the park that day. But this playground and this picnic area are very, very actively used. And we are thinking that it will continue to be that way as we move forward with an All Abilities Playground. Do we have more pictures of the site? No. Okay. Now it's Gina's turn. She will take over from here.
Thank you, Michelle. So when we design all abilities playgrounds, we have these 7 principles that guide us. And these are sort of the industry standard. They were devised by a group of architects and engineers in 1997. I'm not going to go through all the details, but just wanted to let you know that these are some guiding principles. We're going to get into a little bit of the details in a few slides. So we like to see inclusive design as benefiting everyone, and we look at it differently from accessible design. Accessible design typically focuses on physical access to a space, so your ramps and your ADA compliance and all of that, whereas inclusive design really takes everyone into account. So we're looking to design something for all ages, abilities, and backgrounds. So there will be lots of play features, but there will also be other amenities such as walking, exercising, and picnicking, and just gathering in general. So you'll see a little bit of that in a few slides. So this is an all abilities playground that we recently designed in Hayward. It's not quite open yet because of the pandemic, but we wanted to use this just as a case study to show people of things that can be done. This doesn't mean that this is going to happen at our playground here in Pleasanton, but there are some principles that could be illustrated using this as a case study. So one thing we like to incorporate into our all abilities playgrounds are sensory surprises throughout the site. Another are gathering and playing together areas. So really encouraging the social aspect of play. And imaginative and creative play makes everything fun. It gives a sense of place. And then also there's going to be a lot going on in the park. So it's important to incorporate some quiet and calm spaces. And I'll show you some images of that shortly. Eliminating barriers is also important. So different elevations in a site makes it interesting. So some higher areas and lower areas, but getting to them is very important for people of all abilities, but we don't want to have a bunch of ramps in our design. So we like to incorporate things like we have this, back up a second so you can see, we have this roadway, which is meant to look like a street, and it has these signs, these traffic signs all along that are fun that say things like stop and smile, and that connects this upper area to this lower area. So really incorporating the access into the design. And then art and whimsy to give a real sense of place and identity of the park. So to illustrate some of the sensory surprises, we have all different things that we can, all different elements that we can incorporate into our design, including music, cause and effect play, things simple like this shadow play design here. But then we have this more complex, this is the piano, which is modeled after the movie Big. This is actually the same designer that created this piano. So you run along here and it activates these lasers that play the different notes in a piano. So some fun things that we can kind of incorporate throughout. And then encouraging gathering and playing together. So we have different ways we can do that. We have this element down here where you're really working as a team to accomplish a goal. We have equipment that's accessible. Oh, you can't see here's my cursor over here. We have equipment that's accessible to all people. So you can see that you can climb in there and sit, or you can wheel your wheelchair in there. So that's very important in an all abilities playground. We also have an idea that we might explore on this project, but to be determined depending on what the community feedback is. This bank shot basketball activity, which is really a take on your typical traditional basketball. You have these varying heights of hoops and these different configurations for backboards so that people of all different skill levels can play side by side. And then the imaginative and creative element, this really gives a sense of you can create a theme or you can just create these different imaginary experiences. This is a real fire truck cab at our Mia's Dream Park in Hayward. It was donated by the city of Hayward and we turned it into a play feature. So there's a firehouse behind it and you can climb in and pretend you're driving. There's the switches in there still, so that's fun. And you can actually activate the siren as well, or the lights on top, not the siren. And then there's just different things. This is Kennedy Park, which we are also recently designed. So you could have this farm theme. This is a real farm truck back here with a slide coming off of it. So that's a different type of theme. And there's just all different types of elements and themes to explore for this park. But we really want to establish that identity for Pleasanton, and that's coming from the community process. So as I mentioned previously, it's important to have quiet and calm spaces, especially for certain user groups of all abilities playgrounds. So they have different equipment where people can sort of take a break from the activity and be alone. Or this is the Mia's Dream Playground again, and it is actually a little library. These are little library stands here. And we have different size benches, Adirondack chairs, and little kid benches where people can take a break and read a book underneath this nice redwood canopy. Oh, it looks like we dropped an image. Sorry about that. But again, just eliminating barriers. So making all of our equipment accessible to people of all abilities, ages. That's super important. And then art. Sorry about that again. This is kind of wonky. But just really incorporating these different elements of art and whimsy is important to create that sense of place. This is a big flower pot, which is meant to look like a big terracotta pot that's actually made of concrete. And it has this flower sculpture coming out of it that doubles as a shade feature. And then custom structures. That is just a good way to really create that sense of place. This arch here is modeled after the City of Hayward sign. I don't know if you've seen it. You drive under it as you go through the Hayward Loop. So this is called Mia's Dream Come True, and this is how you enter the park. And then again, this is actually a tree house that we designed for the city of Santa Barbara in another all abilities playground. And that was modeled after the community. Sorry, there's a little bit of feedback. Is that coming from me, or maybe it's just someone needs to mute? Thank you. But that was modeled after an idea that came out of the community as well. And then again, the theme playgrounds. So some of the themes that we're looking at for Pleasanton are going to come from the community, and we're working on that currently, but often they can come from the history or the geography or the culture of the place. So that's all we have for the presentation. Now we'd love to hear some of your feedback and your thoughts. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Michelle. So we have a very intimate group today. So just if you have any comments, just feel free to speak up. Herb, you've always got good input. So
this just reminds me of being on the Parks and Rec Commission 14 years ago. I love it. So as a past commissioner, I always have ideas and thoughts, but other than maybe putting a black tie limo out there that we could all crawl in and pretend we're rich and famous. But I like the idea that that sign that Hayward did, maybe the Pleasanton arch sign as the entrance would be kind of a cool thing, just as a thought. And also, I like the all abilities. So, even Brad Hurst could play at that park. I think that's pretty cool. You're able to support seniors in there. And it looked like there wasn't bark, but is that all the rubberized to help keep it cleaner? Is that the concept with the, yeah, that's what I.
So the rubberized play surfacing is great for accessibility because it's easy to roll on. We do have in that playground I was showing you, we have the kind that's shredded and glued together. And that makes it possible to also lay it over the tree roots. So that's one idea. We typically don't use bark in all abilities playgrounds because although it is supposedly ADA compliant, it's very difficult for people to walk on and roll on.
Okay, and then one last question is, are you going to be able to, like Gary brought up in a chat about sponsorships, or if like Rotary donated something or somebody, are you going to have options for doing that to help co-support it?
So that's a very strong possibility, absolutely. And yes, I can always tell Rotary members because they see that Rotary logo. And I'm assuming that he is a Rotary member. Yes, as of right now, funding is solid for the design of the park, but funding is not solid for the construction of the park. And so we want to get the design first, and then we'll be able to see exactly what we're looking at in costs. And then, yes, we have had the question, will there be sponsors? Could there be sponsors? And that is definitely a possibility. I think personally, this is my own opinion. I do not represent the city when I say this, but my own opinion is that it will be needed. I don't know exactly where funding is going to come from right now, especially because of the pandemic. So yes, I could certainly see options for that.
One last question. This would be, there's what, 59 parks in Pleasanton, something like that? How many parks do we have?
46, Matt?
46. Okay, I rounded up. But if we, as they look at other parks, are they thinking of making more all abilities in the future, or is it just at least have one in a city?
So that's an excellent question. We've gotten that before. Right now, the plan is to have this All Abilities Playground as the main and only All Abilities Playground. But as we move forward with replacements and renovations of all the playgrounds, it is the city's goal to at least replace features that would be all accessible in every single park as we touch them. And we've started doing that already. So we're hoping to make every park have some feature or multiple features that everyone could play on.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Herb, I would add to that, one of the biggest challenges with our existing park system and accessibility is that we use the engineered wood fiber in all the playgrounds, because from a maintenance and a cost perspective, it's the by far the most logical choice. So that, if we did want to really make those parks accessible, we'd probably have to replace the engineered wood fiber too. Just because you can't, people with mobility issues can't really use that surfacing very well.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Great feedback, and thanks for all your support with the Trails Committee and all the things you've done and what I worked with you on over the years too.
Thank you, Herb.
You've been great.
For those of you that don't know, this is Matt Gruber. This is our landscape architect. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Hi, Matt. Brock, you got a question, your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are doing this. We our family is very involved in the special needs community, and my oldest son has Down syndrome. He's almost 30 years old now, but we've been very involved in special needs families and community in Pleasanton for years. So I'm really glad to see you're doing this. Just the fact that the city is doing this, just so you know, is very meaningful to everyone with special needs, right? Just being thought of and being planned for. And there's, you know, the spectrum of abilities and interest in the typical community is huge. It's even larger in the special needs community. So you're not going to hit every single interest or desire, but you're definitely capturing a lot of them. And in looking at it, the thing that strikes me is, one, it's close to bathrooms, which is very, very important in the special needs community because it just is. And it looks fairly secure from traffic. I don't know if there's a plan to have some sort of low fence around it, but sometimes we have runners, and it looks fairly safe from home run balls from the softball field. I think that's a high fence in the outfield there. The thing that I would say, two questions. One, what happens to the picnic area? Because picnic areas are awesome too, that's being displaced. And then secondly, I would say, yeah, you're setting the standard, you're setting the bar very high here. So it's good that you want to make it clear this is the flagship, and that other all abilities features in other parks are not necessarily going to be like this. But I do think it's important to have some special, some all abilities features in typical play structures, because most all special needs families have typical children who want to play alongside and want to do their thing. And so it's kind of nice to have those blended near each other.
Brock, thank you. You are absolutely right. At least from a staff standpoint, Matt and I have talked multiple times that we want to make this the best all abilities playground out of the entire Bay Area. We believe that Pleasanton sets very, very high standards. Both of us have worked here for a number of years and are used to that on many of our projects. And while we both fell in love with Mia's dream in Hayward, we want to make this better than that. We want to make it better than Dublin's brand new all abilities playground. So that's what we're looking for. We have set the bar very, very high. And you are right. We are looking at potentially having some sort of barrier around the playground. It is close to bathrooms. As I mentioned earlier, this is 2.5 acres, a little bit more, and the playground itself will be about 1 acre. But we are also talking in that space of having some sort of picnic area, some sort of picnic shelter, maybe potentially a passive walking path through the playground itself, potentially maybe some adult exercise equipment. There's a lot we can do with that space. That's all kind of what we're doing here with these design meetings, is what else would you like to see in that space? And we've heard loud and clear that they don't want the picnic area to go away. Neither do we personally. Like I said, it is very, very popular. So finding a way to continue to incorporate that is important at this park. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great. Nathan has his hand up, and then I'll go to Bill and Gary.
Wonderful presentation, and very exciting to see this all-inclusive playground. So thank you for the great presentation. I lived up in Walnut Creek when they redid the Heather Farms playground, which was all-inclusive. And compared to this design, it doesn't look like it all compares. So props to that. But I am curious, I remember when Heather Farms opened, the city did such a great job on communicating about the playground that, you know, it took some families months to be able to get there after it opened. Have the city given it any thoughts on you know, the marketing of the playground and when it is ready to be opened, you know, how you guys will be doing that? It might be too early in the design phase to answer that, but I'm just wondering if you guys have given it any ideas.
We haven't really thought about marketing it when it opens. We are trying to market this process, and we have a variety of avenues to do that. And you're right, unfortunately, the word doesn't always get out. I've been here almost 10 years working in the city, and I used to be the civic arts manager. And to this day, I still have people tell me that they don't know anything about the Firehouse Art Center. So it's unfortunate that the word spreads slowly. You are correct, but we have almost every day now some other platform to use at our fingertips to get the word out. And so we use multitudes of platforms, and I anticipate that we will continue to do that. But word of mouth is always the best. And so these stakeholder meetings are also crucial in that. We hope that after today, that you go and talk to 3 different people about this project and continue to spread the word on our behalf as well. That helps for sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nathan. Bill, you had a question?
Just want to say good morning, everyone. Great
Good morning.
presentation. Listen, I liked it. You created a destination, right? Just a place where people can interact, and the special needs community needs places to go, right? They need field trips and be able to leave and go out and do these community kind of things and interact with everyone. So I love that. I love the fire truck. I think that's a fantastic image to put out there. It's fun, and everyone likes a fire truck. I understand why the siren doesn't blow, but sure it's fun to have lights. And then I'm concerned a little bit about maintenance on kind of ongoing maintenance. Obviously, it's going to get a lot of use. Is there a plan to have an additional kind? It seems like you almost need daily or some type of additional kind of maintenance that we normally kind of go on a weekly or bi-weekly kind of area. And then that would be the kind of ongoing pressures. But I think it's a fantastic idea. I love the way that we kind of set that you have this one large feature where everything is designed and app, but then maybe there are favorite things that we integrate to the other parks as we go through and redo parks, that we take the favorite features and put one feature here and one feature there. And then this is kind of the collaborative piece of a destination. And then all of these other ones are kind of spread throughout the community so that everybody can kind of get a piece of it. So awesome. Great job, guys. Hope we get the support and the money we need to make it happen.
Thanks, Bill. Gary, you had a question?
Well, I don't know if I got it. Yeah, maybe. It always comes with a story first, right? So I really appreciate all the players, all the important people here today. Great job on that park. I mean, it's like an amusement park. And I know when I go to the amusement parks, Bill, that was great. You see the guy with the little paintbrush walking all around, painting the railing at Disneyland or whatever. It's huge maintenance. And so the other one, I'm a big corporate advocate and success of business and advertising. And Jan and Brad, I guess you're there. We love you. Can't see you, but thanks for being there. And probably remember back, it's before all of you, I think, Herb, when Jose Canseco, Oakland A's were going to put like $1 million into the Mercer Park, have lighted, they were going to contribute the lighted scoreboards. And I guess because it was going to say Oakland A's, they didn't want to have it. So Jan and Brad, you might remember that. And, you know, the person that was there that poo-hooed it, maybe I'm wrong, telling the wrong story. So I see Bill's retired limousine out there with a black tie, and there's a place for you to get rid of a car, Bill. Thank you, guys. Great project.
Any other, I think everybody's spoken. I mean, my thoughts are, Herb has another comment. Great, go for it.
Just 2 things. One, dogs. I can't remember. Do we not let dogs in the park, or do let dogs, or keep them on the trail? And then number 2 is when people reserve, like you said, they're reserving a park. Is there signs that go up and say this park's reserved for a graduation party, etc.? So those are 2 questions that came to mind. Thanks.
Sure. So dogs are allowed on leash in the park right now, and absolutely, because we're still in the design phase, it's up for discussion. Once the playground is built, will dogs be allowed inside that playground? That's something that could happen. It could be something we decide isn't a great idea. So it's really, we'd love to hear feedback on that. And then the picnic area, yes, currently does have a sign that it's basically a sign holder. And then when there's a rental, we place a sign in the sign holder that says who's using it from what time frame, so that people are aware that, you know, anybody can go sit at the picnic area now. But we were trying to avoid conflicts if somebody decided to have their party without booking it, which is fine, as long as it's under 25 people. But then if the actual rental showed up, the signage is there to kind of assist with any kind of conflict. And that idea would still continue. I can't see us, no matter what, getting rid of that signing, because it's just really helpful.
Brock has a question.
Yeah,
Comment.
just quick here. One is in terms of marketing, you've never seen a group more successful at word of mouth marketing than special needs families. So you won't even need to publicly announce it. The fact that it's in the news and families are going to tell each other, everyone will know about it. The other thought was, I know you're looking at the basketball. We've experimented with some special needs basketball programs in the past, and they're great. People love them. One trick is to figure out how to manage what type of balls are used, because real basketballs are challenging due to their weight. But if you can find a way to use lighter weight basketballs or some sort of mix. And then lastly, it looks like it's probably a $4 to $5 million project, around $5 million. So I don't know if you're budgeting towards that in your design, but now would be the time to start figuring out how to raise the funds for that.
Okay.
That's why we're having this meeting, Brock.
I figured this was part of it.
Yeah, I mean, in my comments are, the chamber can certainly help get the word out once you get a plan together on possible sponsorships. And I know our Rotary clubs, the two we have that are very active, would be ready to step up. And there's many others in our community that would be willing to do that, not only businesses. So once you're ready for that, just let us know and we can help promote that. And all these folks on this call, I'm sure be happy to do it as well. So good. What are your next steps, Michele and Gina? Can you maybe outline that just so we know and stay engaged with this process, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Steve. So we've already held a few stakeholder meetings. One of them was with Rotary North, I believe. And that was fantastic. We've already held one of our community outreach meetings. So our next steps, Gina and her team are working on some design concepts, two of them, as a matter of fact, for staff to review and then for us to bring back to the community again. What you saw today was just general ideas, right? And then what we've heard already, we want to put that together in two designs. We then have the plan to come back with one more community outreach meeting and two events that we will be at. One of them could potentially be out at the farmers market, where we would have a booth and just interacting with the community coming out to that. And then we're going to hit several of the commissions, Park and Rec Commission again, planning, youth and human services, and do lots of presentations. This entire process for design and feedback will go until, I believe, January or February of next year. And so the next steps will be just hearing community feedback as much as we can on the two design concepts, in hopes that we ultimately decide on one, create a master plan for that design and bring that to council to bless. And then, yes, Brock, after we have that design, we can really start to determine the true costs. We do know that recent playgrounds have cost upwards of $4 or $5 million. So we are anticipating that. But as some of you know, construction costs are rising, and the longer this process takes, the more that cost will go up as well. So yes, we will keep you all engaged. I have Steve's name and email. If you want to give me your specific email, because you'd also like to personally stay involved, you can shoot me an email at mcrose@cityofpleasantonca.gov. And then I can add you to our interest list. We also have a webpage, pleasantonallabilitiesplayground.com, where we have tons of information on this project, where we will continue to keep people informed in that platform as well. So we deeply, deeply thank you for your time. We appreciate being slotted in. We know you had other things to talk about today, so we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Gary, you had one last question.
Michele, I could just kind of envision like each project, if you knew, okay, the slide, the tugboat, and each project were up and available to adopt by corporate sponsorship. You might bang out whomever. Thank you.
That's great, Gary. I think other departments, other cities have done that exact same process, and I would love to incorporate that. I'm ultimately not the final decision maker. So
Mhm.
I've got to sell that up the line, but I think it's a great idea. So thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Right. Good. Any other comments or questions? Thank you again for being here. And we have this recorded. Thank you, Herb, for reminding me. So it'll be on our website. We'll be sending it out at our Monday update next week for those that weren't able to join us. And Michele and Gina, great work. I can't wait to see things move forward. So thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
And great,
Thank
great to
you
see
very
you,
much
Matt.
for
Thanks for
having
your
us.
help too.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.